Hey guys, welcome back to Football Around the Clock. I hope you all are having a great day. And today we are going to be breaking down the NFC East draft picks and breaking down each player and giving each team grades, possibly each player. And yeah, we'll be doing that for all the teams. This is the first team we're doing, so stay tuned for the rest of them, or the first division that we're doing. Stay tuned for the rest of the divisions. I hope you guys were excited to see the draft. I know I was. It was a pretty entertaining draft, quite a few surprises, but let's get right into it. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing. That would help out a lot. But our first team is the Dallas Cowboys. And to start off the draft, they got CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver out of Oklahoma, at the 17th overall pick. For a lot of people, I think it was a surprise that he ended up falling that far. To me, I wasn't as high on CeeDee Lamb as some people were, so it wasn't as much of a surprise to me that he fell to 17. I feel like, Jerry Jones first off said that he was the number 5 player on their board and he was not expecting him to fall that far, so that's why they picked him. I think they definitely could have gotten some trade offers for that, and I think they could have accepted that, but at the end of the day, other people like CeeDee Lamb a lot, so I'm just going to hop on that and say that 17 isn't a terrible spot to take him. So it's a solid pick. Based on the fact that I don't love him as much, I'm not going to give it like an A+, but it's a solid A- grade. There weren't a lot of players on the board that I would have taken over him at that point for them. So yeah, it was a solid pick. CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma getting an A- from me. Next up, we've got cornerback Trevon Diggs out of Alabama, who they took in the second round, 51st overall. And I actually really like Trevon Diggs, especially with the 51st overall pick. I can't say I was expecting him to fall to the second round. So I'd say that was a solid pick again for the Dallas Cowboys. Trevon Diggs played in Alabama, where he's obviously the top corner. He played really well. I mean, obviously, if you're early second round pick, you played really well. He was my number 4 corner. I think number 4. So that was a solid pick for them. I definitely think that it is smart to load up on cornerbacks, as that is a very valuable position. So that pick from me gets an A. And next up, we got defensive tackle Neville Gallimore out of Oklahoma, in which they took in the 3rd round, 82nd overall. Another player who I wasn't exactly expecting to be here at this point, and also addresses a kind of position need for the Cowboys. So that was a very solid pick. Neville Gallimore isn't going to be as much as a pass rusher, but he's a very solid run defender who can get after the pass occasionally. So it was definitely a very solid pick. I'm going to give that an A- for the Dallas Cowboys, as it's a good value pick, but I feel like there's a lot of players that you can get to defend the run. So to get an A or an A+, you're going to have to find somebody that can also defend the pass, and this wasn't a super strong defensive tackle class, so a solid pick. I'm not going to go too hard on this one. This next pick might have been the worst pick of the draft. In the 4th round, 123rd overall, they picked Reggie Johnson, 2nd cornerback out of Tulsa. I just don't see why they picked him. I feel like there were some better players on the board at that point, even some better cornerbacks. Like, I think Troy Pride was still on the board there, so I don't see any reason to go after that. I get you're trying to fill the role of Byron Jones, but you already got Trevon Diggs. There's no reason to reach here at this point. So I'm not a huge fan of that. He didn't show me that he was that great at anything. I don't see him being a high-level producer. I just see him being more of a depth piece at the next level, so I don't love that pick as much. I'm going to go ahead and just give that a C, as it could have been worse, but definitely could have been better. This next pick I love, center Tyler Biadasz out of Wisconsin, 4th round, 146th overall. First off, addresses the position in need. Second off, I am super high on Tyler Biadasz. He was an early to mid second round talent for me. Obviously, I didn't expect him to go that high, but for me, he's that talented. He's just going to fill a big position after Travis Frederick retired for them, and just a really solid all-around player for Wisconsin. And he will go in and I think produce right away for a long time for them, and he will be the next cornerstone of their offensive line. So that's an A+ for me, no doubt. I also love their next pick, defensive end Bradley Anae out of Utah. They took him in the 5th round, 179th overall. Another really solid player who I expected to go way higher, and he's going to be a really good pass rusher. He can get after the quarterback, unlike some of these other players, so I really like that pick in the 5th round. That was an absolute steal, and A+ there as well. Bradley Anae out of Utah, just a great player. He can do everything: defend the run, defend the pass, and should have been an early third round, but get him in the fifth round. That's great for them. And then in their final pick of the draft, they picked quarterback Ben DiNucci out of James Madison. It was the 7th round, 231. I mean, at the end of the day, it's 7th round, so you can't complain too much. But I definitely think that this was a bad pick from them. I don't see any reason to pick Ben DiNucci. There's just not that much upside in him. I watched his tape. Nothing that great. Honestly, it was pretty bad. Like, no offense. He's obviously played for James Madison, so he's a solid quarterback. But I just don't see him producing at the NFL level. And there were just better players like Trey Adams that they could have taken. And so this just going to get a D plus for me, D plus. I mean, I don't see any reason to make that pick. I think they should have taken Jake Fromm when he started falling to back up Dak Prescott. So an overall solid draft, though, for the Cowboys. They're going to end up with an A- here. So really solid draft for the Dallas Cowboys as we move on to our next team, the Philadelphia Eagles. And in the first round, number 21 overall pick, they picked Jalen Reagor, wide receiver at TCU. Now, obviously, Jalen Reagor wasn't the most talented receiver in this draft, but he is a really talented wide receiver. And I'm happy that they did not take Justin Jefferson like most people thought they would. Now, it's not that I don't think Justin Jefferson is going to be a good receiver. I think he's going to be I think Minnesota was the perfect place for Justin Jefferson to go because I don't think he's going to be a true number one receiver. I think number 2 is where he has to go. And I think he would have been forced into a number 1 role in Philadelphia, and I think Jalen Reagor just fits them way more as he's a really quick burst. He can cut. He didn't run a super fast 40 time, but he plays faster than the 40 time will show. So just a really talented player, and I'm really happy they didn't reach, and I like the pick here at 21 overall. Jalen Reagor is definitely a first round talent. He was flying upwards towards the end of the year. And some say they might have reached a bit. They might have, but I think he's going to be produced to the next level, and I'm just happy they didn't reach for other receivers like some teams did. So that pick's going to get an A- for me, just because, like, obviously there were better players that they could have taken, but just wide receivers position they need to address, and that's just a really solid pick for them. As next up, we got pick number 53, 2nd round. They picked quarterback Jalen Hurts out of Oklahoma. Now, I think this pick surprised a lot of people, being that they decided to take, a quarterback, specifically Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round when they still have Carson Wentz. I think that surprised a lot of people, just because I actually really like Carson Wentz a lot. Don't get me wrong, I love Carson Wentz. I think that he is a really talented player, but the thing is he can't stay on the field, and you can't argue with that. So they do need depth. I don't know if Jalen Hurts was the best fit for them. I think Jake Fromm would have been perfect for them later in the rounds when he started to slide. Obviously, there was no way they could have known that he was going to slide like that. So I'm not gonna say it was a terrible pick by any means. I think they should have waited, not necessarily pick a quarterback in the 2nd round. I also don't think Jalen Hurts is very much similar to Carson Wentz, so I think they could have gone better there. But I don't hate on it as much as some people might. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a B- just because I'm not a huge fan of it. But I don't necessarily completely hate it, as Jalen Hurts is a solid prospect to help develop. Next up, we've got pick number 103 in round 3. They picked Davion Taylor, linebacker out of Colorado. I don't like this pick. I just don't think in today's NFL he's that exact kind of linebacker that you're looking for. I don't know if at this point Zach Bond was still on the board, but I know he was close to being on the board at this point. If he was not still on the board, they could have traded up to get him. Otherwise, like Akeem Davis-Gaither, I think would have been better. I don't think Davion Taylor is going to produce very much in the NFL. So for me, this isn't a great pick for them. There were definitely better players in the 3rd round. So this is going to get a C- from me. Just not a great pick in my opinion. Another pick I wasn't a huge fan of. Next up, they took K'Von Wallace, safety out of Clemson, round 4, pick 127. I just don't think K'Von Wallace is a top level safety. He's going to be he might be a low end starting safety in the NFL. I just think there were better players that they could have taken, like Aloha Gilman out of Notre Dame or something like that. So I don't think K'Von Wallace is going to be the answer for them in their defensive back secondary. So I'm not a huge fan of that pick either. I'm going to give it a C because it's not quite as bad as the 4th round. So that one's going to get a C for me. Next, we got Jack Driscoll, offensive tackle, Auburn. I actually do like Jack Driscoll. Now, with that being said, there were better offensive tackles, but I do like Jack Driscoll, so I'm not going to rip on it too much. So Jack Driscoll is going to be a solid pass defender. Definitely, he's not as much of a run defender, but you're obviously looking for pass defenders in the NFL. He transferred to Auburn. I believe he transferred to Auburn, and finally was able to have a really solid senior season. So obviously, he didn't have his great seasons coming up to that, so I am a bit worried about that, and I think there were better ones available. It definitely wasn't the worst pick. I'm going to give it a B- here just because he's a solid player. I just don't know if he was the best. And then we've got round 5 pick number 168. They took John Hightower, wide receiver, Boise State. He's a solid player. He's not great. He's not going to be a star number 1 receiver. He's not going to be a number 2 receiver. If at absolute best, I think he'll be a number 3 receiver. So 5th round isn't terrible to take him. I don't know. I think there were better players like James Prochet at wide receiver if they really wanted to address that wide receiver position there. There were guys like James Prochet still available, so I would have gone with them instead. I think a lot of people are high on the Eagles draft. I'm just not as high on it, if I'm being totally honest. But they take 3 receivers in this draft. I don't see a reason to reach for John Hightower here at this position in the draft, so I'm going to give that a C. And then you've got next up Sean Bradley, linebacker out of Temple. I actually like him a bit. He's in the 6th round. He's a good value pick. I think he has potential to be a solid linebacker. So he can kind of do everything. He's not necessarily great at anything, but at the very worst, he'll be a solid depth piece, and that's kind of what you're looking for in the 6th round. So I'm actually going to give that a B+, a solid pick. I mean, it's not going to be a home run, but it's a solid pick by the Eagles, B+, nothing wrong with that. And then they picked in the 6th round, pick number 200, they picked Quez Watkins, wide receiver out of Southern Miss. I actually do like Quez Watkins. I feel like he has potential to be like, at his absolute ceiling, he's going to be number 2 wide receiver, but in the 6th round, that's pretty solid. So I actually like this pick quite a bit, and I'm going to give it a B+. I'm going to give it a B+ because Quez Watkins out of Southern Miss, he's just really solid. He's not insanely fast, but he's not slow. He's not the best route running, but he's also not the worst. So it could be definitely a way worse pick, and just a solid B+. I mean, just solid all-around pick. And this next pick, I absolutely love by the Eagles. Offensive tackle Prince Tega Wanagu. I had a late 2nd to early 3rd, and they got him 6th round pick, number 210. Obviously, there must have been some concerns that teams had that made him fall this far that obviously I can't be aware of. But still, I love the pick. It's definitely an A+ from me. He's a raw prospect. Don't get me wrong. He's a very raw prospect, but he just has so much potential, and he can be an every down top lineman in this league, offensive tackle, and can definitely help to protect Carson Wentz's blind side, whether it's Carson Wentz or Jalen Hurts. I mean, who knows? But this is an awesome pick. A+ from me for the Eagles in the 6th round. I love that pick. That is the best pick of the draft, no doubt, of the Eagles draft. And then finally, we've got round 7, pick number 233. They took Casey Toohill, outside linebacker, out of Stanford. 7th round. This is a solid pick. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing like to go brag about, but it's a solid pick for me. They took 3 linebackers in this draft. I don't see that much, but he's an outside linebacker, so I don't see Casey Toohill being like a star linebacker you're talking about. But he can be a special teams contributor, and that's pretty much what you're looking for in the 7th round. So just a solid pick there. I'm not going to talk too much about that. I'll just give the Eagles a final grade. I did not love their draft as much. They definitely had some highlights of it, specifically the 2 offensive tackles out of Auburn, Jack Driscoll and Prince Tega Wanagu, who was not great. As you can tell, I didn't love it as much as some people. But I'm going to go ahead and give it, I feel kind of mean giving it a C+. I'm going to give it a B-. I'm going to give it a B- because it wasn't absolutely awful. So, and I just feel like a B- is way better than a C+ for some reason. So that's what I'm going to give it. The Cowboys, remember, had an A-, so definitely quite a few steps back from the Cowboys there. But it's okay. And next up, we've got the New York Giants, who I actually really like. Maybe not. I like the beginning of their draft quite a bit. So first off, they had the 4th overall pick in round 1, and they took offensive tackle out of Georgia, Andrew Thomas. And I actually called this pick, which not a lot of people had Andrew Thomas going here to them. I think a lot of people either expected them to pick Isaiah Simmons, which I'm really happy they didn't, or like a Tristan Wirfs, Mekhi Becton, Jedrick Wills. I don't think Andrew Thomas we expected to pick, but I called it, and that the reason why is because Andrew Thomas is the top tackle in this draft. He's just all around solid. I mean, you look at Tristan Wirfs, like you can't not notice his insane athleticism. Like he ran like a 4.82 40-yard dash. Like that's insane for a lineman. You saw him jumping out of pools. And then there's Mekhi Becton, that guy is ginormous, and it was reported he still only had 17% body fat. And there's Jedrick Wills, who just many people believe to be the top tackle, but Andrew Thomas can do everything which these guys can. He's the most refined prospect, and that is why they did this, because they want Daniel Jones. They want him to be able to come in next season and just dominate and protect Andrew Thomas's blindside. And the reason I'm happy they didn't take Isaiah Simmons is because they need to protect Daniel Jones' blindside, and there are a lot of good offensive tackles in this draft, but it's not a deep class. There are a lot of good ones, but it's not going to be deep. You're not going to be able to find them in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. You got to get them early in the draft. That's why I'm really happy they made this pick. This was a really smart pick. And then got to give it a grade. I give this grade an A, because this is exactly what I wanted them to do. And then in the 2nd round, they were able to get safety out of Alabama, Xavier McKinney. That was an incredible pick. I don't think anybody was expecting Xavier McKinney to fall this far. Many had him as the top safety in this draft. I had him as my 2nd best safety behind Grant Delpit. But Xavier McKinney was right up there. It was a close fight between the two of them, and an absolute steal in round 2, pick 36. I love this pick. Xavier McKinney is a great cover corner as well as a great zone corner. He can do it all, and I don't know. I just really love this pick. It was a steal for them, and I give that one an A+. As you can tell, I love the Giants draft class so far. As next up, we've got offensive tackle out of UConn, Matt Pert, in this 3rd round, pick 99, and I'm really happy they doubled down at that offensive tackle position, and they took a really solid guy who's going to be really good, and then they also took a developmental guy in Matt Pert. That was perfect, really smart of them. As you can tell, I love this pick as well. Matt Pert, coming out of UConn, is not like the most refined prospect, but he has a ton of potential, and I feel like even though Andrew Thomas is still going to be a rookie, he can definitely teach him a lot, being a more refined prospect, and then Matt Pert being the more development potential type guy. So if they can get 2, I think they got 2 starting offensive tackles here for them in this draft. So that is incredible. 2 high-end ones, too, at that. So I really love that. I give this pick an A. So the Giants starting out very strong in their draft, and it's not looking like it's going to slow down soon, as they took UCLA cornerback Darnay Holmes in the 4th round, pick 110. And this guy obviously wasn't the best corner in the class, but he might be the smoothest corner in the class, meaning his hips move so fluently, and just everything about his game is so fluent. It's crazy. A lot of scouts loved him. I loved his tape, and he just has a ton of potential. Like I've been saying about a lot, like Matt Peart, who they picked last round. Great pick by the Giants, who, like I said, I always believe teams can, if whether or not every team has a need at cornerback, whether it's starting or depth. Darnay Holmes can fill in either one of those spots. I love that pick. Yet another. Well, we're not going to give it an A. We are going to give it an A. Yet another A for the New York Giants. As we move on to their 5th round pick, guard out of Oregon, Shane Lemieux. I hope I pronounced that right, but I can't guarantee it. But that does not matter, as it was a solid pick by them. Definitely not as good as their last few, but it was definitely a very solid pick. In round 5, he's going to be a very solid guard. It might be as good as the other ones, but it's going to be a very solid guard. And I like how they're addressing their offensive line, because that's really what they need. I mean, you think about Daniel Jones, they can protect him. He's not going to be a star quarterback, but he's going to be a very solid quarterback. They've got Saquon, who in my opinion is the best running back in the league, and they just need to be able to protect him. They've got their secondary in Xavier McKinney and Darnay Holmes. Shane Lemieux will finish off that offensive line draft for them and just shore up that guard spot there in round 5. That's a very solid pick. I think that's where most people expected to him. I think he's a little better than that. I think he's more like early round 4. But Either way, very solid pick. It's not as good as their other ones, but it is still a very solid pick. I'll give it a B plus, as I still love the pick. And we will move on to Penn State linebacker Cam Brown in round 6, pick 183. So Cam Brown is all around solid linebacker, but obviously in round 6, Cam Brown is a raw prospect. I will say that he is not he's not a refined prospect that's going to go on and start day 1 by any means. But I think in round 6, he is a solid player to take, as he does have potential to be a low-end starter, in my opinion, which is really solid for round 6, actually. Which I know low-end starter does not sound great, but in the 6th round, that's pretty solid. He can be a mid-level starter, actually. Is his ceiling? Don't expect that, but I will say that is his ceiling. They did actually draft a ton of late-round linebackers, and in their last 5 picks, they picked 4 linebackers, so that's a lot. I don't know what they're planning to do. I'll give that just a B. And let's talk about their next linebacker, out of Minnesota, Carter Coughlin in the 7th round, pick 218. Another guy, he's more refined than Cam Brown. He's more of a just refined depth piece that's just going to go in and just be a solid, second string. He's not going to be an absolute stud. They've already got Blake Martinez in there as well as David Mayo. So don't expect too much out of him. Don't expect any of these linebackers to see the field too much. Just another B here from me, and let's talk about the next one out of South Carolina. Linebacker TJ Brunson, 7th round, pick 238. This is another raw prospect, much like Cam Brown. He's not as thick as Cam Brown. Cam Brown's more of a thick linebacker. TJ Brunson's more of a speed linebacker. He doesn't hit as hard as Cam Brown, though. So just another solid pick, just another B. There's nothing great about these picks, and this one's a little worse. I like the other two more than this guy, so I don't like South Carolina's linebacker TJ Brunson as much as Carter Coughlin or Cam Brown. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one we'll go with a C+, just because I don't see him being anything better. I see his ceiling being a second string, and his floor just being cut before he even makes the final roster. So I'm not a huge fan of that one. And then our last 2 picks, this one's actually a cornerback, Chris Williamson, out of Minnesota. I don't think he'll make the roster, if I'm being totally honest, so I'm not a huge fan of that one. You can find guys like him and you undrafted free agents. I'm just going to give this a C, because he has a chance to make the roster. He's not huge upside. He's kind of upside, but he's not going to be a starter by any means. I think you can find guys like this in undrafted free agents. He's not a great cover corner. He's a decent zone corner, so I'm not a huge fan of that. And finally, we have Mr. Irrelevant, Tay Crowder, linebacker out of Georgia. I don't really like Tay Crowder. Okay. He has potential. That's about it. But yeah, I mean, he's Mr. Irrelevant, so who really cares? I mean, whatever. It's just going to be depth. It's fine. I think there's better guys like Trey Adams on the board that they could have taken just to fill depth on that offensive tackle position. Obviously, Trey Adams has injury concerns, but at the very least, you're going to get a very solid depth piece. And even if he's injury prone, he's just going to be a backup. He has potential to be a high-end starter, though, so that's incredible. Getting him as Mr. Irrelevant, I would have gone with that, but you know what? Take Crowder's fine. Whatever. Let's get into. Oh wait, I got to give it an overall grade. I liked their draft. I liked their draft pretty good. I mean, they got some solid steals. Andrew Thomas, I think, was a smart pick, and then you got Xavier McKinney there. Matt Pert was a good pick. I'm gonna give this an A-. Yeah, a good pick for the New York Giants as we get into a good draft for the New York Giants as we get into. Actually, I'm just gonna give it an A, because actually I'm looking back at their picks, and it's actually a bunch of really good picks. So an A for the New York Giants, and our final team, the Washington Redskins. Now, obviously, they had the 2nd overall pick, in which they selected edge rusher out of Ohio State, Chase Young. Now, everybody's hyping it up, saying, he's the best prospect in the draft. Prospect-wise, he's the best in the draft. I don't necessarily agree with that. I love Joe Burrow. There's a lot of players I really like in this draft. I'm not saying he's, not a top prospect. He's definitely a very talented player. And if I were Washington, I would have tried to trade back. I'm happy that, I wouldn't have gone quarterback like some people were saying, but no, I'm happy they didn't trade. I wish they would have traded back and gotten like an offensive tackle. But at the end of the day, it's Chase Young. He's going to be a great player in the league, and it's a really solid pick. I'm not going to rip on that too much. I'm not like absolutely. I don't think Chase Young's like an absolutely insane player like some people. Okay, yeah, he's an insane player, but he's not like I don't think he's going to be like the best edge rusher in the NFL, which I think what a lot of people are expecting. Like by the time he's in his prime, I think a lot of people are expecting him to be the best edge rusher in the NFL. Now I think he'll be like a top 10. I don't think he will be the best like some people are thinking. But yeah, an overall very solid pick for the Washington Redskins, as they then did not have a second round pick. They went and waited until the third round and took running back Antonio Gibson out of Memphis. Now, I believe, I'm not totally sure, but I believe Antonio Gibson also plays some wide receiver as well. So that's, I didn't have Antonio Gibson as a third round grade. I think there were definitely better running backs around. But as far as his versatility, I think that's why they took him, because he could also go out and play wide receiver. I believe that's probably the reason they took him this high. So yeah, it was a solid pick, and I like versatile players a lot. And then Antonio Gibson is going to be at the bigger side for most of the running backs in this class. So a solid pick. I don't love it. Like, I think there were better players on the board, but it's not a terrible pick. Chase Young was a good pick. I want to go back and just clear that up. Chase Young was a good pick. I'm not good. Like, I made it seem like I didn't like it. It was the right pick, and it was a good pick. I'm just saying, like, I'm not as hyped about Chase Young as some people are. But yeah, Antonio Gibson, solid pick here. It's nothing to go. It's like a C+, and then the Chase Young is like an A-. So that's what you're going to get there. As we go into the fourth round, where the Washington Redskins took offensive tackle Sadiq Charles out of LSU. Now, I like this pick. The only problem I have with it is obviously the reason he fell this far is because of his character issues, and that's just what I'm worried about for him. That's just what I'm worried about him in the NFL. Also, he's going to a very diverse locker room, where Washington isn't a team that necessarily stretches having like a very tight locker room. Like, they brought in guys like Reuben Foster, and they're not really caring about that, which is what I'm concerned about. He's going to go into that locker room and get himself into even more trouble. And but other than that, he's definitely a second round talent. It's just his character concerns are what the issue are. So if they believe that they can keep him under control, then it's a great pick. But I don't think that Washington's going to be the greatest pick, but I like the player. So I'm giving this just an overall grade, and because of that, I'm going to go ahead and give it a B, just because of the value. But I don't like the locker room he's going into. If he was going into a locker room, a better locker room that didn't have some of the problems that like Washington had, it would be like an A, but he's not. So I have to just give this a B, in which the fourth round they continued to take a big threat, a red zone big target receiver that can go up and catch the ball in Antonio Gandy-Golden out of Liberty. Now, a lot of people love Antonio Gandy-Golden, and I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say that he's not great. He's great at jump balls, but that's the thing is you're not gonna see him create a ton of space, which is what I'm concerned about at the next level. Is he played for Liberty, and if he couldn't create that much space, then I'm worried about how much space he's gonna be able to create in the NFL. But at the same time, in the fourth round, he's a very talented player and worth a shot. And so, like, I see a lot of sites giving this pick like an A. I'm not necessarily there yet, just because I haven't seen him I haven't seen him be able to create enough separation to the point where he would be successful in the NFL. But it's not an absolutely awful pick. I'm just not as hyped about it as some people. I'm going to give it a B- just because I don't know if he's going to be able to create separation at the next level, in which they had their next pick was in the fifth round, in which they took offensive lineman Keith Ishmael out of San Diego State. I believe he is interior offensive line, but he can also play. I believe he's more of a versatile player that can play all over the O-line. And he's a solid player. I actually liked him more than a lot of people did, but I did not like him early fifth round. Especially there were some solid offensive linemen still on the board. So I had like an late fifth round to early sixth round grade on him, which I think is higher than most people did. I was kind of surprised that he went this high. But yeah, I don't love it here. He's a very versatile player, a pretty relatively athletic guy. So we'll see him if he can succeed at the NFL level. I don't know if he is going to be big enough and strong enough to compete with some of the guys at the next level, but we'll wait to be seen. But I do believe there were better players available at this point, so I don't I'm not a huge fan of this pick, but I don't absolutely hate it. I'm going to go ahead and give this a C+ for the Washington Redskins, in which they had another 5th round pick just 6 picks later, and they took linebacker Khaliki Hudson out of Michigan. I wasn't crazy about this pick. I don't love Khaliki Hudson. I don't think he's going to be a great player at the next level. I think he's just going to be depth. I just think he's going to be depth, in my opinion. So in the 5th round, you can still find solid players, and I don't think they did that here. I mean, I think Khaliki Hudson's more of a player that's just going to be like solid depth, so they're not really taking a risk on a player that's going to start at the next level. So I wish the Redskins would have taken more of a risk here, as they're a team that needs to take those kind of risks and playmakers. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this one. I'm going to go ahead and give it a C-, maybe even a D. I'm going to give it a C-. And then the Washington Redskins did not have a 6th round pick, but they had 2 7th round picks. And those 2 7th round picks, the first one was at 216. It was safety Cameron Curl out of Arkansas. Once again, I don't see him being a great player, but then again, this is in the 7th round, not the 5th round like those ones. So Cameron Curl isn't awful, and I'm not going to rip on many 7th round picks too hard, but I'm just going to say, I don't see him being a contributor too much at the next level, nor do I see their next pick D-end. James Smith-Williams out of NC State. I think James Smith-Williams will be better than Cameron Curl. I don't see him being a great player. So I'm going to give the safety Cameron Curl out of Arkansas a C, and then D-end James Smith-Williams a C+, just because I'm just going to stick with those grades. And Washington's overall draft, it wasn't great, it wasn't awful. It's going to get a B because it's just kind of right in the middle there for me. And yeah, so a solid pick for, I think every team had a pretty solid draft, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember any team having an awful draft here. So a pretty solid draft for every team. Obviously could have been better for some, could have been worse for others. So a pretty solid draft for the NFC East. This is the first of this draft grade series that I'm going to be doing. So make sure to look out for your division and other divisions as well. And stay tuned. If you have a video you would like to see, please leave that down in the comment section below. I will certainly make sure to make most of those for you guys. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and consider subscribing. It would help out a lot. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, have a great week, and have a great life. I will see you guys later.